Time folds back on itself. Again, his senses scream as the very impossibility of what is happening assaults them. But the champion of light endures. Each time he gets a little closer, each time another detail falls into place. Now the trap works against the Herald of Darkness.
Sending out the big guns from the very start.
What are you, the King Hillbilly?
Unfortunately, it won't quite be enough. Should have brought a shotgun instead of a buzzsaw. So creative, yet the best you can do is a handful of grenades.
Right on cue, bubbling to the surface from untold depths, the horrors come. The emerging monsters do not expect the warm reception that has already been prepared for them.
But I know it's really tiresome, predictable. It's so easy to ambush or trap or remove. Catch. Although I do wonder why they aren't affected by the brightness of the fire. Hello there.
Saving Emma.
You missed. Since I neglected to last time, let's make sure there's nothing at the diner. Need to pad out the runtime just a little bit after all. Ah. How fortuitous.
With all the herbs, crystals, and the rest of her New Age paraphernalia, Emma Sloan had been called a hippie and a freak and worse. It was that small-town mentality. She was a female mechanic, and even in 2011, there were always going to be backward shit-kickers who thought that was a hoot. She didn't mind. She could deal. She could take any engine apart, even the new ones with all the computers in them. Turned out that these boys were awful polite while waiting for her to put them back together.
Remember, dear viewers, always support the right to repair. And support your local mechanics.
Getting the Andersons into the recording studio was a struggle and a half. But once they actually picked up the instruments, something happened. They were two old men, and they weren't. They were doddering bags of bone, and they were barely contained power. And there was music. Barry rubbed his hands together. He knew how to pick a winner. Now all they needed was some direction on how to make things a little more modern. Barry had never produced a thing in his life, but he knew what he liked. He knew Balance Slays the Demon was going to be a hit.
Is it bad that this time I just went, oh, he's gonna be right along to save my ass?
Not as long as I show up, I guess. Clear now.
Yeah.
You might
thanks
need
for
to
saving me
bolster
again.
your numbers
I'd
a
hate to
little
die
bit.
before I'm scheduled to be murdered.
I guess I have you to thank for setting everything up at the oil derrick.
Yeah, well, I figured that if we were going to go over this again, we might as well try to be smart about it, huh?
I appreciate it. You took a big chance doing that. You okay?
What do you think? I've died twice. I remember everything pretty clearly now. You said I was gonna be okay.
I don't know what happened.
It's not your fault. I think one of those, what did you call them? The takers? I think they did something to the power and they got me that way.
I'm sorry.
Yes, and that's
I
how
got
they
the
got you
keys
the
from the dead
first
guy
time
in
as
that
well,
room.
making me
And I'm not
wonder
handing them
why
over until you
Alan
do something about
decided to
this. I'm
simply
sick of
leave you
getting
in
killed.
there.
Fair enough. You seem calmer now.
I tried freaking out. It didn't do much good for me. I guess you get used to the craziest stuff.
Good for you.
Plus, I figured I'd take the edge off, you know?
Mm-hmm. Those herbal supplements are pretty good, huh?
Oh, yeah.
I wanted to try to explain things to you now since you're calmer, but maybe this isn't the best time after all.
Oh, shit, yeah. Better not get all metaphysical on me now. Seriously, I'm like 2 sentences away from thinking how we could all be like atoms on God's skin or something.
Or figments of somebody's imagination?
Wow. I'm just gonna try to chill out and not think about that or getting murdered or anything, if you're cool with that.
Gotcha. So I've been thinking about Barry. I don't know what to do about him yet. I mean, I'm not gonna keep him around, that's for sure. Al? Al? Ugh, little parasite. Your best friend. Really? That's the best you can do.
Says the man with no friends.
I actually
To the
kinda
point
like
where
guy.
even someone
He's a bloody
identical to
doodle
him
bug
in
boo.
so many
He
ways
plays the clown, that's a hard road to take.
hates you with every sense of
But
his
I don't
being.
need him sticking his fat face in my business. Did you know he's been hanging out with the sheriff from that shitty little town? They keep in touch. Barry's about the only guy who insists that you're not dead. How about that? I might keep him alive for a while. Just to see him go to pieces when I fire his ass. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
And that's the best you can do. Eddie.
Emma wasn't sure exactly when the man arrived at the motel, but from what she could tell, the party started almost immediately. It was infectious, spreading from one room to another. He was mercurial, almost as if he was flickering through the scene, telling a joke here, throwing an insult there, oozing sex and violence and excitement. She had never seen someone like this before. He looked at her and smiled. and she felt her heart flutter a little. She knew he was the kind of man mothers warn their daughters about, but she told herself it didn't matter.
Here we are. Ah, so you came just a little bit more prepared this time. Sneaking up behind me may seem like a good idea, but it requires me not to be able to hear your snarls or heavy footsteps. Steady now, Alan. Steady now. All blocked up. What a shame. Makes me wonder why there was even an ambush set up out here.
I have seen the darkness twist flesh into new shapes before, but encountering these giants is an extremely disturbing experience. It's as if the genre has been switched on me. There's something out of Pulp Fiction. Twice as tall as normal men and stronger than forklifts, their lumbering gait and slow-witted demeanor brings to mind some kind of mean-spirited caricature of a feeble-minded hillbilly.
Well, art lovers, are you feeling neglected? You shouldn't. You know Eddie Rodman's got love for you, which is why I actually hauled myself out of bed before noon, just so I could record an interview for your pleasure. Enjoy. Now, as I'm sure you all know, the annual Night Springs Visual Art Show is coming around again, and that's a big deal for all of us that are in the culture business. If you can call it a business. That's a little controversial, I know.
Oh, that's okay. Money makes the world go around, no doubt about it.
And that's one of my guests here at the studio, Serena Valdivia. She's a curator at the Night Springs Gallery of Visual Arts, and she's in charge of the NSVA Film Festival, held this year at the old Night Springs Drive-In Theater.
Hello, Eddie. It's great to be here. And let me just say that it's a wonderful venue.
Absolutely. And with her is one of the filmmakers, somebody who's actually primarily known as a renowned photographer, Alice Wake.
Hello.
Now, Alice, I've seen a lot of your work over the years. It's very impressive. My wife's a big fan, actually.
Oh, thank you.
You've gained quite a bit of fame as a photographer, but that's not why you're here, right? You actually have a film. That's a little surprising.
For me, too. I really wouldn't be here at all if it weren't for Serena.
You two are friends, I take it?
Yeah, we move in the same circles. So, about a year ago, I heard about all this footage she'd shot, and I got to see some of it, and then I started pestering her about actually putting it out there, because it was really good. I didn't really want to show it. It felt too personal.
Well, yes, I can understand that. It features your husband, and he's, well...
He's dead.
I thought he was missing.
It's been 2 years. This sounds awful, but yes, I believe he's dead. Otherwise he would have, well, you know.
Yeah, I understand. Well, hold that thought, and we'll be right back.
Okay. I really don't think they can get to the power now.
Thank you. That's a relief. Here's the keys that you needed.
Thank you.
Hey, I have to tell you, at the diner, I went there with him. The guy who looks like you, okay? I know I said that I didn't.
Yeah, I figured. Want to talk about what happened at the diner?
There was this guy from the observatory, and he just attacked the poor dude, smashed his face into the tabletop a bunch of times. It was horrible. I didn't know that he was gonna do that. I swear. And I just ran. I just left him there. I didn't even try to help.
There was nothing you could have done. It's not your fault.
Well, he's dead in that motel room now, so excuse me if I feel pretty shitty about it anyway.
You shouldn't blame yourself.
I just didn't want to get involved. I have this tendency to just drop everything and run. I don't think I'm a bad person, but I didn't even call the cops. I'm such a coward.
If you'd called the cops, we'd have dead cops. He's not human. Do you understand? It's not your fault.
But I could have tried to stop him.
Believe me, if you had, you'd be dead. You seem to be doing a little better now.
Granted, you have
Yeah,
died
I guess
twice
it just got
before,
easier once I
but
got this thing off my
hey,
chest.
you're alive
I just
now.
feel so
Perk
guilty
up.
about it, especially because I didn't pick up on any of the warning signs. I just really liked hanging out with him, you know? He was smart and charming and funny and hot. The way you could be, I guess.
I guess.
What's the deal with this guy anyway? He looks like you, he uses your name. Why does he do this stuff?
I'm not sure myself. Maybe he's just evil or my dark half. He does a lot of the stuff I'm trying really hard to get away from. Things that just messed up my life.
I guess all those murders don't help either.
Yeah, I could do without the murders and the end of the world. Listen, I need to get going.
Yeah, go. I think I'm good now. I hope.
Good luck. If it all goes well, maybe this is the last time we meet like this.
God, wouldn't that be great?
Just keep those lights on, okay?
Right, I don't think there'll be anything terribly useful in these. Except for a flashbang, perhaps, but...
The fate of countless individuals hangs in the balance, threatened by the machinations of the Herald of Darkness. And yet, for a moment, the Champion of Light breathes a little easier. He has saved one life. For this moment, it is enough. And soon, perhaps, he can put an end to this.
Well, technically speaking, it's not as though the other two women have died in any... So, Realistically, he saved 2 lives before and is merely
Returning
saving
to
a
the
third.
observatory for what he
Not
hopes
that
is
it's
the
a bad
final
thing,
time,
of course, but
the man feels
look on the bright
anticipation
side.
and dread in equal measure. Soon, he knows, he will have what he needs.
Hello, I was expecting you. I've already taken care of the imaging array, but you should still look into securing the primary coolant flow. With some luck, you may be able to light the area before these things even show up.
Okay.
Thanks for tuning in for the second part of our interview with Serena Valdivia and award-winning photographer Alice Wake. Now, Alice, we were talking about your husband, Alan Wake. Is that a sore subject for you?
Well, a little bit. Of course it is. The way I see it, we had our good times and our bad times, and on the whole, we had a lot of good times. He really made me happy. I don't mind being reminded of him.
So you're over him?
I don't know if I'll ever be that, entirely. I still think about him every day, literally. I still find myself hoping for... Well, sometimes I think I see him just standing somewhere, watching me. I think most people who lose someone they love experience things like that. But on the whole, I'm doing all right. 2 years is a long time to adjust, and I'm not really the type to wallow in the negative.
Well, I know there are a lot of stories about Alan. He seemed to have something of a wild streak.
That's not really what our show is about, though. Look, all that stuff really gets blown out of proportion. He had his problems, but it's really frustrating for me because people like to talk. They love to tell these crazy stories, and they never really knew him at all.
Well, the character he created, Alex Casey, is a household name. The books still continue to sell. There's been talk of a TV series, a movie, a video game. Must be nice to know that his work is still being appreciated by so many readers.
Yes, of course, but I don't really deal with the business side. I leave that to Alan's agent.
That would be Barry Wheeler. Actually, I just interviewed him. He's currently in the music business.
Mm-hmm.
And he's also Alan's best friend. Do you two keep in touch? Or?
We talk regularly. Like I said, he handles the business side.
I think we should talk about her film.
Yes, of course, you're right. I'm Eddie Rodman, talking to Alice Wake and Serena Valdivia, and we'll be right back.
I'm unsure how I managed to miss that. Or that, really. What the hell? Alright, you've grown irksome. Thank you for walking down what is effectively a narrow corridor.
Very good. I believe we're ready to look into the sky.
Right there, Doctor.
Perhaps I should have gone looking before I put the lights up. That's rather irksome. Ah well. persistent little bugger, aren't you? Somehow I haven't read some of these.
When Dr. Rachel Meadows got the call from Michael, telling her to hurry to the observatory, she didn't waste any time. It had been a nice party. She'd had a good time, but her social life would always play second fiddle to the mysteries of space. Michael never showed up, of course. He pulled over at the wrong rest stop. She never even thought about him at the time. The phenomenon in the sky above her was too fascinating. The film noir poster reminded me of Alex Casey, the detective's cool exterior never cracking even with the gun pointed in his face. In the back room, all the lights had been turned off, except for the lone spotlight which illuminated the bright red fire extinguisher on the wall. This act of creation is exhilarating and frightening. Subtext and symbols loom eager to take effect. Causality and consequence become domino chains that stretch into infinity. The more fundamental the change, the more unpredictable the variables become. Reality is too complex to control completely. Ordinary questions become meaningless. Who created who? What is really real? Everything is as real as everything else. You learn to let go of the things you can't control and go with the flow, or go insane.
The joy of creation. But well said, Alan. Well said. Really, this wasn't clever the first time you did it. It's just a pointless waste of light bulbs. Cute. Like I said, cute.
The man before Dr. Meadows was handsome and slick. He moved with lazy confidence and didn't bother to pretend that he wasn't staring at her. She didn't mind, at first. Then the man flicked open the knife and shoved her out of the control room so she wouldn't hear the signal, whatever it was. Outside, she pulled her lab coat closed and thought about running. She didn't. She didn't think she'd get very far. Not from him. She never was entirely sure why he spared her.
Presumably, it might have been to keep the loop closed. Granted, that's your own fault for creating a loop to begin with, rather than simply letting him wander about.
This is what you look like. Does that bother you? I bet it does. I'm not just wearing your face, you know. It goes a lot deeper than that. There's a lot of you and me. All the best parts. At first, I was just an idea. But they kept telling all those stories about you. You already had that rep. And then you disappeared mysteriously. And then, the stories about bad, crazy Alan Wake came true. And here I am. That's the best part, isn't it? When that happens, you can always count on Cauldron Lake. I'm just as real as you are. And I'm the improved version. No fears,
Please.
no doubt,
You're
no weaknesses,
nothing.
no self-deception here. I don't let anything drag me down.
You have as much depth as a line of ink on a blank page.
I know
You're
you
nothing
like
but
I
a
know
baseless
myself.
rumor.
I know
One
it
that will
bothers you that I'm
swiftly,
like this.
mercilessly
use
be
your name.
overridden.
Crawl my way into your life. But I only do it because I'm better at being you than you ever were.
Please. And now we continue upward.
You need to protect the telescope or we can't complete the signal. There, I have it. But I wish these things would stop blatantly violating the laws of physics in my observatory. That's just rude. Are you all right?
I'll live.
Quite
Glad. I'll
on
send
both
the list down to
fronts.
you.
Thank
I
you.
remember our previous encounters very clearly now. But technically, if this really is a loop in time, we've never met before. I don't know why our awareness persists, but it's bloody fascinating.
Doctor?
You know, I know physicists who would give 15 years of their lives for a chance to experience something like this.
I'd imagine that being stalked by horrible axe murderers would curb their enthusiasm a little.
Clearly you've never met hardcore physicists.
I'm glad you're in such good spirits, but
The signal! Yes, it's completed.
finally. If all goes well, this should be the last time we go through the loop.
You know, I just realized that I don't have any memory of what happens after you leave. What does that mean?
I don't think it means anything. If everything goes well, you just keep going. I don't show up here like this again, no more bad guys, things go back to normal.
Let's hope you're right. I'd love the opportunity to look into this in more detail.
Looks like you've accepted the situation.
I'm a pragmatist. If this is a delusion, at least my first psychotic episode is anything but boring. Really, Mr. Wake, at the end of the day, I'm a scientist. I love mysteries. I love not knowing. Whatever else this might be, it's absolutely fascinating. I wonder how far this reaches. Is everybody in the world experiencing this?
Who knows? I think reality's probably pretty fragile right now. Doctor, I can see you're very enthusiastic about this. I'd appreciate a bit of discretion.
Are you suggesting that we should suppress this?
Duly noted.
No, you can do what you
An
like.
interesting
but I want you
choice
to
of
leave me out
words
of it.
for your
Surely, with the
first
things
time
you know,
chat,
the things you've
but
experienced, you can replicate any
so
of these
long as you
results.
aren't
We can-
Let me be
spamming or
blunt.
attempting to
If you
post
drag me into
links,
this,
you should
I'll deny
be fine.
everything. I'll lie like my life depended on it. And writers are damn good liars. Word of advice. This is things man was not meant to know territory. You get into this, chances are you'll open up a door into a world of hurt. Believe me, I know.
I see.
In a strange way, he feels at ease.
No,
He is armed
I
with his
am a
own words,
vampire.
and when
Thank
the
you very
time
much.
comes, they will be enough or they will not. For now, he's content to let the currents take him toward the final confrontation. Once more, we return to the drive-in. If he's aware of the absurdity of arming oneself with a few
I'm
sentences
well aware
and
of the
standing
fact,
against the
thank you
power
very
that can
much.
pierce time itself, he doesn't show it. The man has his share of weaknesses.
From algorithms to
perhaps
robots to
but
AI
cowardice
to
is not among them.
whatever is going on in Asia.
Oh, you got yourself a little plan, do you?
Oh, you got yourself a little enemy, do you? You know, I wonder if there's any different dialogue if I had chosen to circumvent Alan's decision to go right on ahead. I went on to Selena anyways. Or perhaps the door simply would have remained locked. Also a distinct possibility.
Never getting out of this, Wake. Never! Don't worry. I'll take care of your wife and your life.
Good dodge, Alan. Well, I suppose he decided he had enough of Alan playing his theme tune and wanted a piece of the pie. It didn't work. You missed.
I think you're doing, but I'll send you right back to the beginning.
When the Dark Man's eyes suddenly locked into Serena's, she flushed hot. They ignited a black fire in her. He was talking. He wanted the power turned off. He said something about the projector booth. She hooked a finger under his belt buckle. He grabbed a hold of her throat and twisted until it hurt. Somewhere deep inside, a part of her screamed in paralyzed horror, but the moan that escaped from her throat had no panic in it. "Pay attention," he said. "Business first." His eyes glittered shamelessly. Hers did too.
What, you aren't going to try and put those towers up again? They worked so well the first few times.
I have changed. I know who I am now. I know that I can write my own fate. Bright Falls taught me that. I know that indulging my weaknesses, giving in to fear and complacency will only drag me down. The Dark Place taught me that. I'm no Zen master. I've not attained enlightenment. But I have learned to let go of the things that I don't need. I know that without that balance within, I become my own worst enemy. Now I strive for equilibrium, and with that, I'm strong enough to get where I want.
One might even say that balance slays the demon. Right, Mr. Wake? Excuse me. Come now, just a little further, Alan. Mind the cacti.
I held the film canister in my hands. I saw her name written across it in big letters, followed by the title. It was a time capsule, moments snatched from times gone by, from a past that I hoped could also be our future. It was my salvation, our chance to be together. A tin can with a bit of magic in it that she didn't even know about. Something I could put to good use. There were only moments left before I had to face him. The clothes I wear now I shaped from dreams and memories. It's an old outfit, originally from the 90s. The last time I wore it was when I was still writing and Alice and I took a vacation in the desert before our troubles began. The night before, we'd been at a party, and I had dressed to the nines. On that lazy day, I put on these old clothes, worn and comfortable. Alice made a joke about grunge. I felt a little embarrassed, but I stuck with them. We were very happy. I'm sheathed in good memories to remind myself of what is at stake.
Alright, time to take care of this.
Oh, hey.
I'm hoping I can put an end to this now.
You'd better. I really don't want that to happen to me again. It's like somebody vomited in my brain, like a sleazy movie that keeps looping in my head.
I'll stop this, I swear.
You know the part that's really screwed up? If you mess it up, it'll just keep happening forever, right? I don't think I can deal with that.
Don't think about that.
I don't think of anything but.
Hey, afterwards, when all this is done, look me up. This thing, I can probably help you deal with it.
I don't know. It's almost like I'm not even in the same world anymore. Everything's just weird now.
Yeah, I know. A lot of that'll pass with time. But being touched by the darkness, it's rough on you. It's a lot to process. And I just don't want you to get completely screwed up by this.
Might be a little late for that, to be honest.
Yeah, well, there's degrees. At least you're not at a point where you go around picking fights with people over not changing their light bulbs often enough.
What?
Never mind. All I'm saying is, you're not alone with this. And anyway, you're friends with Alice, so, you know, any friend of hers.
Thank you.
Hello, folks, and welcome to the third part of our pre-recorded interview with Serena Valdivia and renowned photographer Alice Wake. So, tell me about the film.
It's called Sunrise, and it really wasn't something I ever thought of as an actual film. It was just footage, things I saw and happened to shoot. It's not a medium I'm very much at home with.
You shouldn't put yourself down. You've got a great eye.
Maybe, but experience is another thing.
Because you're primarily a still photographer.
Yes, exactly. So I'm really used to thinking of the world in terms of snapshots. I frame something and try to pick the right moment, and then reveal that moment to people. Moving images are a different story. I'm still learning a lot about it, to be honest.
So, this is a new thing for you?
Or maybe I'm just a slow learner. But showing it like this is definitely a new step for me. It's a little weird taking something this intimate and showing it to everybody. Not that the material itself is somehow shocking, it's just that those were private moments.
But that's why it works, because it feels genuine. It's not so much a story as it is a sort of an echo, showing us how you saw your husband at the time. It's not really about the sunrise itself or Alan watching it. It's about you two together.
I suppose. It's funny, looking at it now, especially now that it's been edited like that. It takes on a life of its own, almost. It's a kind of a fantasy.
Well, there's nothing wrong with that.
No, you're right. I'm glad you talked me into it.
this on for now. That just leaves dealing with Mr. Scratch and the television. Ah, yes, he's going to do it once more.
Whatever it is you're gonna do is gonna make a difference? This'll end up just like before!
Well, Mr. Scratch, you seem to have gotten a very vital piece of your plan very, very wrong. You see, in situations like this, normally, whereas the hero needs to win every time. Oh, I didn't see you. There we are. Whereas the hero needs to keep winning and winning and winning. Evil normally only needs to win just one single time. And in your overpriced art house bougie production, you've gotten that a little backwards. You have to win every single time I come here. And I, Alan, just has to win one single solitary time. And we will.
There's more to fighting the Taken than just burning away the darkness that protects them. When I'm fighting for my life, I find myself slipping into a state of intense concentration that makes the beam of my flashlight seem more powerful and focused. I used to think it was just my imagination, something brought on by the adrenaline and fear of death. But now I'm not so sure. I've been touched by powers that I can't begin to truly comprehend. And they've left a mark. I'm starting to think this might be a part of it. I've been around for a while now, you know? While you've been indisposed, stuck in the darkness, I've been busy. I operate in the shadows, not always literally, you understand? I'm a little more resilient than those I've taken, but I do my best work in the dark. And there's so much darkness out there. It goes deep. And the things that live in it are fast, big bastards. They don't mind getting a little bit of elbow room. All that chaos and madness, it doesn't really do that much down there. It's like pouring a glass of water into the ocean, right? But up here, yeah, you can really make an impact. All they need is someone to bring them all the way through. But first, I had to take care of you. You party pooper. You're stuck in an eternal cycle now. The sun's never coming up for you. Everything else? Do my thing. Getting a bit of quality time with Alice. That's a little something for me. And I deserve it. I have created the weapon that can put an end to this, a blueprint to a new reality. All I have to do is survive long enough to use it. My arrival from the dark place will be painful and difficult. These pages may be lost, but one way or another, I'll send the parts I really need to myself, If I make it outside, I have a chance. Mr. is more powerful than I am, but he can't change the rules in the middle of the game. He's not a creator. I am.
Nothing relevant. Ah well. Back we go.
Again, the Champion of Light enters the final trap. The new reality is almost here. All he needs to do is change the details of the scene, push it past the breaking point, and the rest will snap into place.
It was late at night. The summer was almost over. There was a film noir poster visible, spotlight illuminating the red fire extinguisher. And Alice's film was in the projector. Why? Well, yes. Ah.
Oh, come on, buddy. Why don't you... What? What is this? No! No! You can't do this! All I did was take the things you always wanted and never had the balls to go for. It's my turn now. It's my life. It's my life.
It wasn't a life you earned, nor was it a life you were given.
Alan?
It was a life you borrowed. Or rather,
Is it...
stole.
Is it really you?
Now it's back.
It's really me.
How? I love you.
I love you.
too long, enveloped in the light of a glorious dawn. They both feel it. He's home at last. Are these actual events, or merely a dream? A memory, or a glimpse of what is to come? One thing is certain. This scene takes place in another time and another place, far, far away from Night Springs.
And that was Alan Wake's American Nightmare. A fair bit shorter than the original. Shorter if I had chosen to merely run through the events rather than picking up collectors. Rather enjoyable, if obviously. Well, it's not as if the first wasn't action-based, unfortunately, this was all we had for quite a while. And I was controlling the remake. And while I'm concerned about epic songs, we can only hope that the story of Alan Wake continues, and that the characters get some kind of peace. Or at least some kind of closure. The time will tell. I do thank the viewers who have come in and out of this playthrough, as well as the last. Although it is rather unfortunate that certain viewers, such as Grogu, aren't around for the end. At least I have the VODs, at least. Butchered as they might occasionally be by copyright, muting large random sections of it. Obviously, tonight's stream will be rather short, and I don't believe I'll be going into the arcade mode. I'll simply be ending things after the credits and turning them off. I do plan on spending time with some friends during the week, as I hope all of you do. Be it physically, or be it with family, be it online, in virtual reality, or simply through a voice chat. Spend time with those you love, and those who share, even if you're simply spending personal time with yourself for a couple of minutes. I wish all of you a very happy New Year. I wish you good health and good fortune. And I hope that all of you will continue to be patient to get the news and
Shadow Luna? Al?
And with that, I wish all of you at least one more thing. I wish you a good evening. Get some rest. Although, of course, I will be raiding someone. Well, no, I don't think I will, seeing as to my knowledge all I have are bots in my chat. So instead, I'll simply be wishing you a good evening. Good night.